BioWare posted some notes recently on changes that will impact PvP and Conquest. We'll talk about that and more on this episode of the Escape Podcast for Star Wars The Old Republic. Our broadcast astromech today is EPC 353. And playing alongside me is Seema. Hi, Seema. How's it going?
Hey, it's going pretty well. Yes, let me talk about SWTOR for a second here. Oh, we just finished our ops night because it's Thursday, and we were in lovely Dread Palace, where we had almost no problem with Tyrants this time, which is good. That means we're not too old to learn how to do stuff, like relearn. But yeah, we one-shot Bestia, we one-shot Tyrants, we did Calpheus. We SEMA one-shot Raptus, which means we wiped a couple times, but a SEMA one-shot is when it was the first night we did it, and we downed him.
Ah.
And yeah.
That's a SEMA one-shot?
Yes. I mean, there might have been a couple of wipes in there, so technically not a one-shot. Although that took us all night, really. So next week, I don't know, it's going to be a while before we do those 4 fights fast enough to actually get to some time on the council fight, which is
well, within the, I mean, we didn't even start exactly on time. We started about, 8 minutes, 10 minutes late, and we finished
not
8 minutes
abnormal.
early.
That's true. So we'd give us, yeah, we'll have a little chunk for sure. But it was a good night, and I kept my mouth shut when I saw how well Tyrans was going.
You didn't want to jinx it?
Right. And
Yeah.
then I had to do it again when we were doing Calpheus, and it's just going really smoothly. So anyway, that was fun. We had in MFN this week, we went to Explosive Conflict, which it's kind of a while since we've been in there. I like that place. I know I have friends that have like bad memories of EC because in early days, I think it was frustrating because there were a few things that didn't work 100% the way they were intended. But I don't have those memories, and I've always liked Explosive Conflict, so it's cool.
Yes.
When we started doing achievements a couple weeks ago in MFN, it kind of got me in that frame of mind. So I have one character who's like a level 41, and I'm working on haven't really been working on leveling her. I've been sort of leveling the ones that are more in their 60s and almost done, but I decided to park her on Balmora and log in every once in a while and kill Bormu for that achievement. There's an achievement where you kill 500 Bormu, and my idea was to kill like 25 of them and defeat enemies on Balmora and get some experience. And she would slowly get Conquest, and she would level eventually. So then I realized level 41 is too high for Balmora, so she wasn't getting like XP from actually killing the Bormu.
Oh.
They were gray.
Huh.
So I didn't know that was possible, but apparently it is. So
That's
weird.
weird.
So I stopped doing that. I stopped it, and I said, okay, I'll go do on another planet. So I went to Hoth, and I was close to one achievement, which was to kill X number of Wampas. And so I finished that one, which the third tier of it is called Wampa Stompa. So now I'm a Wampa Stompa, and now I'm killing other things on Hoth slowly, and not so surely, but still. I mean, I'm doing it. So I like it because it's XP, it's Conquest, and it's achievements. It's like 3 different things in one.
Especially during bonus time.
Yeah, right. And also, I know I'm I'm a slow adopter, but I did reinvigorate my Steam login and download SWTOR on Steam, and I'm playing through Steam right now, or on Steam, or however you would say that, as we speak, and I have been for the last few days with 0 problems, so that's my Steam report.
So you think you're going to just stick with Steam as your launcher for the foreseeable future?
I think so, because, I mean, I don't really see any difference. So when I go to log in, I don't I don't think, well, I should log in the old way. I'm trying to get, develop a habit for the new way. I don't know. It's like they're very similar to me. So
Yeah,
maybe if I play more Steam games and there's the value out of Steam, right?
right.
Um, Maybe I'll change it there. But mostly wanted to just check it out and experience what other people were experiencing. Turns out it's very similar. Like it's exactly the same. But I did get a bunch of achievements. And it's funny that people say, I think it was Corley that was saying he's like 95% of 100% achievements, but that's very low. I see what they mean because I had the same thing, but
Right.
the achievements I haven't gotten, I looked at them and they were the ones that were, a lot of work to get.
Yeah. Right. It's like, right. You get 95% of the way there just by like leveling up some characters. And then the
Right.
last 5% is do every flashpoint in master mode, do every
Right.
chapter in master mode, do it's
Multiple
like
times. Yeah.
Griminy.
Right. Right.
So
Exactly.
yeah, I
So
agree.
anyway, that's a kind of a slice of my SWTOR life this week. How have you been doing, Max?
Doing well, doing some of the same things, of course. I did load it up on Steam. I think we talked about that a little bit last week. I think we'll talk about it a little bit more next week too. We're trying to line that up, maybe more get someone on to talk a little bit about what more of the benefits are of Steam, since you and I both aren't avid Steam users, and achievements in general. I do have my eye on achievements because of that. Now there's a number out there and it's kind of public. It makes me want to go get some achievements. So I've been eyeballing that, but I've been mostly focused on the MFN was really fun. I do like explosive conflict. It was fun to go in there to Denova. People had never been there before. Some people, so you got to like tell them all the little secrets and tricks, like when you finally destroy the shield generators at the very end after you've defeated Kephis, your bomber squadrons don't even wait and they just bomb on top of you. They just
Right.
drop bombs right on your head,
Right.
which
Right.
is spectacular.
They're like,
That's my favorite part of that whole that whole operation.
"Thanks for, taking down the shield.
I
It was
like to
nice
like
knowing you."
run back and forth and see if I can get a bomb to like land right on me when I'm in there. But that was really fun. Ops night was really fun. Us doing this kind of little progression, just vet mode, just vet modes for us. But getting through vet mode Dread Palace, we had 4 people that got a vet mode kill achievement tonight. So
Yeah.
half of our group had never done vet mode Dread Palace Raptus fight, which was really cool. So I
Yeah.
like that. We are getting really good at the first 3 fights, so we've got the hang of it. Raptus, we had to remember some of the effects, like we didn't know in the DPS challenge that there's an interrupt you have to do. We're like, why is this guy healing himself up? We can't finish this challenge. There's something wrong here. Oh, there's an interrupt. You got to interrupt that. You got to trade off. Both tanks need to go in and share the damage if they can, and yada yada yada. So remembering all of the mechanics is kind of fun because that's how the whole operation was when we started. And to remember how that is and do all of those mechanics again is pretty cool. And in fact, even though we didn't have enough time, we only had like 10 minutes left, or 8 minutes, so we didn't bother to go in and fight the council. Knowing or just thinking about all of the mechanics that will be back in that fight that aren't there in story mode, again, it's really fun to remember. We're gonna have to jump up to the throne at that part. We're gonna have to the debuff, or the healers have this debuff cleansing challenge. This It's almost like a puzzle that they have to be figuring out during the fight, and there's a whole bunch of extra mechanics. Uh, Bestia or Brontes when she comes back. Bestia when she comes. No, it's Brontes who does the clock thing in the middle. Yeah, it's Brontes.
Yes, Brontes, yes.
Brontes. She does her lightning clock round all around thing. She does, lightning storms and all of that stuff. You got to remember and do and get ready for and prepare for. So that's going to be really fun. And then then after you do all of the mechanics, then you have a DPS race challenge at the very end. Although our DPS is pretty solid. I don't think I'm gonna jinx it here, but that's been not that much of an issue, I don't think, for us in our fight so far. So we'll see how that goes. Uh, Double XP, not as interesting. Double Renown, kind of interesting. We have a handful of people in the guild, some farther along than others, into the many, many hundreds. Some maybe even closing in on 999. But remember, there's an achievement. I don't think it counts for the Steam achievements, but there's an achievement for getting Renown rank 999. So putting on some extra Renown ranks because we've got a bonus month going on. Not a bad time. Not a bad time to do that. You know, I made sure I even bought some extra renown boosts for the night, and I did not even click one. I even spent tech frags before the fight just so I could have get a little extra in my inventory in case it ran out or something, which whatever. That was dumb.
I
So
spent
use your
all my
boosts.
tech I spent all my tech frags before, and I just had enough for one boost, and so I know myself. So after I bought it, I clicked it.
That's a good idea. That is a good idea.
This is the way.
Speaking of This Is the Way, I and Seema watched the Mandalorian trailer. Maybe we'll talk about that as part of the news, because there's not
Yeah.
much news tonight. So let's get to the news, and maybe that'll be first news item.
Now, an Imperial News Network report.
All right, I'll replace the first news item, which was Bug Watch, which was nothing in Bug Watch this week, which I was surprised about because it's been so consistent that there's at least been some comments going on, but that's fine. It can be quiet for a week. I think that just means there's no bugs left in the game, which is really cool to hear.
That's it. Obviously, that's what it means.
But in the news that I was just alluding to,
This is the way.
Mandalorian trailer is of course out. It is set to drop. The season is coming up on October 30th, I believe. The Mandalorian trailer, fun, good. I actually waited until tonight to watch it because for things that I'm really excited about, I'm not just going to watch it. I'm not going to watch it on my phone. I'm not going to watch it while I'm on a conference call at work. So I kept like
Right.
putting it off and putting it off. I shut off all the lights. I turned up the sound, watched it on a big screen, and watched the trailer and experienced it, and came away with a smile on my face. So I won't do. We don't need to do spoilers, but you watched it as well, Seema, didn't you?
Yeah, I was afraid to watch it because we've talked about this before. I have a season 2 thing where of a show that I really love season 1. I'm kind of afraid to watch season 2, and that fear kind of is attached to the trailer as well because I feel like, "Oh, what if I see something that turns me off?" And then I'll be like dreading. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's nothing I'm proud of. But anyway, so I did watch the trailer because Corley is my raid leader and he told me to. Uh, and it was very good. I mean, it was very promising. Nothing in there pissed me off, so that's great.
There we go. Good job. Good job, Mandalorian production team. You didn't piss off Seema. Mission accomplished.
Right. That's right.
One thing that we'll spend a little bit of time on, and then the only other really news item this week. Why don't you kick us off on this, and we can talk about it for just a minute.
So the DPS guard changes. So the change is that, and it's mainly for PvP, and it's mainly meant to have an impact on PvP. And the change is that a DPS spec player putting guard on another player on their team will now have their DPS reduced by 50%. So the person casting the guard while the guard is up, and the person I assume also is within 15 meters, their DPS will be reduced by 50%. So it's meant to impact the issue of guard being such a huge part of high level PvP.
Right.
And it's meant to make it so that when you want to use guard, you have to make a decision. Are we going to be successful if I use guard because it's going to help save this person, or will we miss 50% of my DPS? It's like everything should be a value judgment, or yes, a judgment. So that's the intent of it. There's some pushback from the forums for people who feel like it's going to have an impact on PvE because the description of the change does not specifically call out that 50% damage reduction is only in PvP. So it looks like it looks from the way it's worded that it will apply to both. But I don't know that there's a lot of usage in PvE of DPS spec in ops of DPS spec players guarding other players, and because they can do that, they win in a situation where if they couldn't do that, they would lose.
Right. I think it's a thing people do. Like there was this weird change in wasn't there a change in, oh yeah, there was the change to the discipline where people were setting their discipline, their talents in as a
Right.
warrior, and then they would, before the fight, and they would build up their stacks, and then they would change their talents. So it was a thing people were doing. Is it going to make them significantly worse or do less DPS? Probably not. I mean, they just have a little bit stronger opening. It doesn't sustain you through the fight by any means, but because it was a thing that they were used to doing, it probably feels like a change that's negative to people.
Nobody likes to have something taken away. That's
Right.
just, yeah.
So
I don't
I
either.
could see having a reaction because of from that perspective, but it's 5% less damage on one person who's not a tank, because you can't put it on the tanks who are taking most of the damage. So there could have been special situations where 5% less damage on somebody that had to do some special job was saving the fight. And you sort of explained that to me in the pre-show, Seema, but it's probably few and far between, for one. And for two, the overall healing of the whole group that healers need to do didn't change by very much at all. They just were able to do a little bit less on one person. Only 5% less on one of the 8 or 16 people. Now you could have had all 4 DPS be power techs and all of them guard each other, and the 2 tanks guard the 2 healers or whatever. So you could have 6 guards out there, I guess. But still, nobody's doing that. In PvP, I think this is significant and solves a problem that I always felt to some degree, but I felt it in a slightly different way. I always recognized to some degree. And the way I recognize it is when you get to the end of a PvP match, the board that comes up that sort of gives you credit for what you've done has various factors and medals associated with what you did. If you heal a certain amount, you might get a medal, and total healing shows up on the board, and you could see if you were the top healer. Same thing, top DPS shows up as DPS. If you guard someone and you use your taunts, which also has a little bit of a guard, it has a damage debuff effect in PvP. If you guard someone, that counts as defensive, so you sort of get defensive points and defensive medals associated with that. If you are running like a DPS warrior or a power tech and using guard quite a bit, you were getting the DPS, the DPS medals and the guard medals, and everybody thought that you were like a super contributor and would want more of those people because, boy, what a big contribution. It felt a little unfair in a selfish way, but I think on the other side, from a balance perspective, and maybe this was even showing up in the way teams were getting put together, it could have been not only do power techs and vanguards do a whole bunch of damage as DPS, but they have the guard. So as I'm putting my ranked PvP team together, no mercenary, you can't be in the group because the power tech just does just as much damage as you, and they have guard, and that's what we need in this group. Now, as I say that, as I think about that, mercenaries still have healing, and sages still have healing that they're able to do off healing, and that does come into play. and off cleansing comes into play. But this seems they must have had a reason. Now that I think about it, they probably should have said more about what the rationale and reason it was, and what they were seeing which generated it. As we've asked before with these kinds of changes, put a lot of that rationale in, and I think you'll go further into making your point about why this is a good thing. Now, that said, of the people I've talked to who do ranked PvP, only a couple people in Guild, they said, yes, this is a fine change, and this is probably something that should have happened. So
Yeah. Yeah, and on the forums, that's kind of the feedback too from a lot of the players who play a lot of PvP. They're like, yes, thank you. It's a long time coming. Better now than never, right? Yeah.
Okay, so that's interesting, and they're the ones who are most impacted, so that's interesting to hear. Did you notice who posted this post? A different developer.
Yeah, I did notice that.
So Chris Durrell, the gameplay designer. So usually Chris Schmidt is who's posting. I think he's lead over PvP. He's usually posting more of the PvP information for us lately. He posts the season updates. He posts the ban and PvP action reports. This is a new voice for us, a new voice on the forums, and a new public voice, Chris Durrell. So thank you, Chris Durrell.
When I saw that, I did have a little thought about, like, I mean, I think it's really good that there's some view to us that there are more than just two people running the show, right? And
yeah,
a lot of people just feel like, they can't ever have what they want out of the game because there's only two people running there's only two people working on SWTOR. I hear that all the time. Well, they only have two people working on. It's like, yeah, it's good when we get to see new names.
And we're going to double down on this when we get to the segment and talk about the Conquest update, because I noticed a brand new name on that post as well, which is
double down.
Really interesting. But let's finish up with the news. What else we got in the news here, Seema? Guild and community news. What do we got?
So here's the thing. We've been talking about doing this achievement group, but we haven't really. There's been some ideas floating around, but we haven't really nailed down a night. And before, in the pre-show, we were talking with BC, and he was saying like maybe Friday night on the nights that we're not doing the Master Mode Flashpoint group. And then I decided to just tell everyone, always come on Friday night, and we'll either be doing achievements, Master Modes, Flashpoints, or Mega. Just always come on Friday nights.
Yeah. We have a lot going on in the Guild on every night of the week. And trying to find a night for this, these people that want to go after achievements to maybe get a side group going is kind of a challenge, it sounds like. So I agree. Because we have the Flashpoint night every other Friday, it might be a good thing for the off Fridays. Saturday night is open, but Saturday night is hard. We do have some big Guild things that happen on Saturday nights, but I'm not recommending that we do another.
No.
We have two Guild fun nights. We have Lotro SNL. SNL is Saturday Night Lotro. And we have the biggest MFN of the whole Guild, which is the World of Warcraft New Braid, which is their sort of version of an MFN, and regularly get 40 people. But that starts really late. So to your point,
yeah.
That's after all the kids are asleep and everybody's back from partying out on the town, right. Responsibly socially distanced.
It's after I've been asleep too. I mean, I would like to go and play with the WoW people, but yeah, they're starting at 11, and I'm fading at 11.
Yeah.
So, except for Thursday nights, I'm bright and cheerful at 11 on Thursday nights.
Yeah. So I think. Sorry, I'm typing and I'm reading and I'm thinking, but yes, you are always bright and cheerful. Now my brain is replaying the words that were coming through.
It's not necessary. Go ahead, type. It's way more important than listening to
me. Forster in the chat room was making the point that
he's in.
you should be using taunt if you have a taunt, even if you're a DPS in PvP. It's also quite important, and it gives you
Yeah.
some of that additional reduction of damage. This doesn't work this way in PvE, but this is a PvP thing. It gives you a reduction of damage on the people that you've taunted if they don't attack you, if they continue to attack the target that they were attacking. And your AoE taunt does that for everybody. All of the enemies that were affected by the AoE taunt. But it made me think two things. One, I wonder if they'll nerf that to some degree as well for DPS. Or two, maybe it was the doubling up, being able to both guard and use the taunts was just like too much of the bonus there that sort of outweighed like the utility of having some off heals. So that might have been part of the equation. We're gonna have to get Chris on to Chris Durrell there to let us know. Well, let's get Chris, producer, go call up Chris and get him on the schedule. There's no producer.
Right.
All right. Mega coming up at the end of the month. Anything else in guild and community news that you wanted to say there, Simo? I don't think so.
Nope.
I think we're good.
Yep.
Shout out to the chat room. I saw Zen just showed up. We got Forster, Jamalman, Indy the dog. We named the dog Indiana. Squishy, Apples, a bunch of people in there. Now more people are popping in. I'm gonna miss people. Smoke and Forster and Link lurks in Arjar. Hey, Arjar, how's it going? The kid TY0511. Arkan Enigma. Ooh, that's an interesting name. Hello, everybody. Thank you for being in the chat room. We will talk to you more in the post show. We are always really appreciative of having people in to participate and be in the game, in the podcast, in the show, and in the chat room with us live. Did I not line up a... well, here, in honor of what we're doing, let's start the segment with this.
This is the way.
And throw one of these out at you.
I have spoken.
Poor Nick Nolte. He's dead.
Yeah.
What was my terrible joke from? Oh, yeah, I remember. So I said they should bring Queel back as a Force ghost, and maybe he could be like a fun comedic element to season 2. He's back as a Force ghost, and he follows them around, and he says fun things. But now, because he's a ghost, instead of "I have spoken," he'll say "I have spooken." Terrible.
It's funnier this time because you explained it.
I apologize unreservedly. It's really funny in my head though, and I'm gonna keep saying I have spooken because it's spooky. Because I'm a ghost. Woo!
Oh my god.
So there you go. PvP Conquest changes. We talked about the PvP changes, but there are also Conquest changes coming. So let us bring up this post. And again, as I mentioned, it's a new name. David Stats. So we got 2 new names off the team bringing their content to us somewhat directly. He doesn't have a signature block down on the bottom of his. Not that Chris's was all that interesting. It was just... wait, where's Chris's? Oh, maybe you got to go into the post to see their signature block. Yeah, it must have been in here. Chris's signature block, which is gameplay designer. Let's see what David's signature block says.
System designer.
Systems designer. Designing some systems like Conquest. Conquest is a system. Conquest apparently is going to be changing.
So I would call these more like tweaks.
Yeah, I agree. You want to give us a rundown of tweaks and what you're seeing so far, and then we can talk a little bit. We're going to peel the onion on this quite a bit.
The first category of them he calls point rebalance. And I think the point of it, well, he says the point of it is to make
I see what you did
the
there.
points that you receive, the points that you receive, the point of the points that you receive as commensurate as possible with the effort that it takes to do it. So some of the really easy things will now be worth fewer points, and some of the things that take more effort will be worth more points. So that's why I call them tweaks. They're just continuing to fine tune and balance so that it kind of everything kind of hits a sweet point, not sweet point, sweet spot. So in other words, a really easy one, like
The
sending your
point of the points that we're pointing out is that it hits
Yes.
a really good point.
He does hit a few good points in here. So when you send your companion out to sell junk, it's only going to be worth 550 points as opposed to 1750, which is what it was used before. And this is before figuring in stronghold bonus.
Right. So this is
So
the baseline.
yeah. So I mean, it's still 550 points. It's still like free points, really, for that activity. So even though I want to complain about it, I can't really. I can't really.
Well, you can on that one, and we'll get to it further down in the post. But yeah, let's go through these. I mean, well, okay. So here, that one, it doesn't work on level 75 characters anymore.
Yes, that's right.
As an example. So we were able to
Right.
do that on any character, and now that doesn't work on level 75 characters. So it's 0 points for your level 75 characters.
So like something like Advanced Hail a Taxi, which is also having its points lowered. That has always been
that never
only
worked
for the
on
lower.
75. Yeah.
Yeah, right. So now it's going to be like that one.
In fact, that was always a mystery of where it worked and where it didn't.
Yes.
I always had trouble with.
We finally found a line, but yeah. So some things are going up though. Like for instance, the IOCATH weekly mission is now going to be worth 22,250 points when
Really?
before it was worth 4,000 points.
I see that. Huh. I glossed over that one. Wow.
Yeah. I mean, and that to me makes perfect sense because the IOCATH weekly mission is way too much effort for me to even think about doing, especially not for 4,000 points.
That's serious business.
I did it when I was also wanting to get rep, but once I still got to get rep on the pub side. Oh, anyway, whatever. Maybe I'll do it. No, I won't. So yeah, team rank total domination is now worth 100,000 points. That can't be right.
I think it is. And
So
I think that applies to PvP guilds that want to hit their guild conquest target, but they only PvP.
Okay. Yeah. Yes.
Is the way I was looking at that.
Yes. I see that now that you explain it to me. Yeah. So it used to be 13,500 and now it's so basically that's the goal anyway. It's something that's hard to do, takes coordination and a lot of time. It has more points. The goal is for it to have more points than something that's easy to do, especially things that are super easy to do, like take a taxi.
Right, exactly. And I would completely agree. You do the team ranked weekly, that should be worth a ton of points. You should be able to make Conquest just doing that. Now, I mean that's what stood out to me with 100,000 points is you don't need that on one character. It does nothing for you to get 100,000 points. They had to get any more than 50,000 points on one character, so they didn't need to make it for a single character any more than 50. But to get your guild, your PvP, your ranked PvP guild to get to your guild target, now it kind of makes sense. You got you got a few groups going and all they do is PvP between the daily stuff that you're getting points from, the wins that you're getting points from, and then doing the weekly. Now you can have, a team of 15 avid PvPers hitting they're getting their guild to their weekly target. Seems entirely reasonable and appropriate. What else? So this second part. So that's the first part. So they're tweaking some of the point values. Is this all of them? Oh no, this is just a small example Yeah,
Yeah,
so
small example. So I have a feeling that all the ones that I'm sort of addicted to will be like gutted, but we'll see.
in fact, I think I still have up here on the side. So this was SWTORista's super easy objectives cheat sheet. I wonder if all of these are going to get whacked with the nerf bat. This was
Maybe.
run any 5 crew skill missions once per day. Super easy, 5K. Level up a crew skill once per day, 5K. Send your companion to sell items. That was the sell junk. We already talked about that. Give a gift to your companion, 5K. Yeah, so these 7 in particular may be on that chopping block. We'll have to keep an eye
Yeah.
out.
Yeah. And I every time there's a here's what I have had over the long years I've had to teach myself is that every time something that I'm used to changes and I get that feeling of like, okay, who moved my cheese? There's also a mirroring feeling that in a situation of change, there's always opportunities. So maybe it'll be better.
Mm,
Maybe I
maybe.
won't like it less. Maybe it'll be better. Maybe it will mean that the stuff that I do get from the rewards I do get from Conquest will start to be demanding a little bit higher price on the GTN, for instance.
Yeah, you brought that point up to me earlier tonight, and I thought that was a fascinating take. So why don't you explain that a little bit, just the whole economic impact that you see of conquest in general, and why this might be
Well,
good.
what I tend to do, and I don't do it religiously. I do it once or twice a week or a month. Is I try sell invasion forces, which I've been making for Conquest. I sell legendary embers, which are reward from Conquest. And when I remember, I also sell solid resource matrices for it and with Conquest being so easy to do, a lot of people are doing that. So there's a lot of those on the market. So the prices dip a little bit, and when it becomes not so hard, not so easy to do, there'll be fewer on the market. Maybe the price will come back up. That's all.
Yeah, I think that's part of the reason I think that they took the SRMs out of the lower level conquest rewards. We're flooding the market with these things. If it makes my profit margin on stuff that I sell go back up a little bit, maybe that's okay. Yeah, as you're
Yeah.
saying, maybe the downstream impact of all of this isn't bad. Uh, and just in general, and we're still going to go through the rest of it here, but the fact that they're continuing to tweak and look at this and keep conquest as a core part of the game, I think is a really good idea. I think
And
Conquest is a content generator. It causes players to generate their own content in some ways, which I think is really interesting.
any system in a game is going to have to be revisited over and over and over again. That's just the nature of the beast to keep it relevant.
Yeah. Yep. Absolutely. So that's the simple number of points changes. They also added in objective level bracket updates. So it took me a minute. I pretty much only play 75. All my characters are max level, because max level. But pretty
Spooky.
much I have spook and uh, uh, but I very rarely play a non-level 75 character, so this didn't resonate with me all that much. Did you see anything in here that was all that? Well, they added a couple things to the lower level brackets. I think that's more important than what they are. I'm less interested in what they're taking away from the higher level brackets. That's going to be disappointing. Making sure that anybody that's in the lower levels, and when we go and do some of these things, that they're getting conquest objectives and conquest rewards for doing it. I think that's good. But what else did they
Yeah.
have in here?
I mean, I was a little bit. I mean, I don't quite get this one either. Like, for instance, it says World Boss, Coruscant, Dromikaz, to dash Corellia. Does that mean from Coruscant to Corellia? I think that's what that means. Yes. So all the world bosses in the original class story planets are now in the 10 to 49 bracket, in addition to being in the 50 to 70 and 71 plus. That I would have to say that I did not realize they were not in the 10 to 49
Right.
bracket.
Right.
So
I
this
guess that's
seems,
what I'm going. Yeah.
yeah, this seems natural, a natural, just sort of a fix. Because if you kill a, yeah, if you kill a world boss in Corellia and you're level 49, and your buddy who's level 50 gets conquest points and you don't, that doesn't seem, yeah, this is good. It's
Yeah.
fine.
And Super Squirrel in the chat room is saying, is this legacy level? No, this is the achievement here, advancement legacy, advancing your legacy, no matter what your legacy level is now in the 10 to 49 character level bracket. So this is all character level. If your character was between 10 and 49, you could do some things, but you couldn't do other things. If your character was level 71 or 75, you could do some things for conquest, but not other things. And they're taking some things away. If you're level 75, like you can't sell credits for junk you don't get anymore at level 75, which we could get before, but this does not affect legacy level. That still only goes to 50, and Eric Musco is still surprised that anyone is legacy level 50. Sorry, Eric. Continue to pick on Eric. New conquest.
I keep trying to scroll down.
Oh, on my screen.
Right.
Let me scroll ahead for you.
Thank you.
New conquest objectives. Are you swiping on your screen? That would be a double. Swiping on your non-touch monitor, putting a bunch of finger streaks on it. New conquest objectives. Now they didn't specify much here in the new conquest objectives section, but but they outlined in general what they're going after here, and I saw a couple of fun comments about this, like if you're doing chapters a bunch, whatever you do, whatever you like to spend your time doing, they'd like to ensure that you can get conquest objectives and conquest points for doing that. One of the boring ways that they did that which was still not necessarily ineffective, was that you got a lot of conquest points for killing things. That, there's going to be a piece of that continues. If you were playing the chapters, you weren't getting any conquest points for completing a chapter, but you were getting conquest points for killing things. Now, being able to have specific targets that you go after, and if you complete 5 chapters or 10 chapters or complete all of Fallen Empire, you get 20,000 conquest points. Those kinds of objectives would be more of a driver. So I think that's the right kind of thing for them to be thinking about. Now, this part right here, defeating Sky Troopers, that one did catch a couple people's eye. And it's going to be like, kill 10,000 Sky Troopers and you'll get, 500 conquest points. And you'll still get it if you play any of those chapters. Because you still have to kill 10,000 Sky Troopers to get through a chapter. But
That's right.
yeah, there's going to be so many Sky Troopers, but maybe you'll feel like you're doing something. Yes. Yeah, exactly.
All the Sky Troopers.
Yeah. So
the takeaway for me from this little section is that they're continuing to dream up new stuff for Conquest, which I think that's awesome.
I think it is too. And I think let's finish these next 2 sections, but then I want to come back to that and give our brainstorms on, and anything the chat room comes up with, on what we think would be cool as new conquest objectives and new changes to conquest, which they haven't even gotten to here. The next round of their changes, though, which I think is also good, is to continue to make the events a core part of what happens with conquest and the conquest objectives, and tune that up. We always do the events as part of what we're doing in our guild fun night, and it dovetails really well into conquest, which is the guild objective already, I think, to some degree. And taking that to the next level, I like this. I like the sound of this. What about you?
I think it's it will give me I don't know if it will succeed in giving me, but it will make me think twice about my normal thing that I do with Relics of the Degree. Is I usually go and do one critical mission, and that's all I do. And
Mm-hmm.
I've picked my favorite one, and I can do it very quickly. This makes it worthwhile to, do all of them
Mm-hmm.
that day.
Right.
And the other thing is that I think is kind of interesting is the defeat droids and defeat droids 2 um, targets. So if you have a bunch of people that are in the Groot area running around killing droids, I think that's going to maybe up the activity level in general, and also making the the quest infinitely repeatable for conquest points. I think it might make the area just more filled with people,
Right.
which could be
Good.
yeah,
I think,
yeah. I
it
mean, there
might get
might be some
annoying if you're trying to,
competition. It
but
might get annoying, but a good annoying.
right. I see ideas popping up in the chat room relating to killing your guild leader. We'll get to that in a
10,000
moment. Where's
kill
my
max
where's my
conquest
G
points.
kick button? What was it? What is it? Slash G kick? I gotta look that up. Uh, anyway, yes, let's do more around the events. Events still continue to be a big driver for us. We always do the events. We always have fun with it, and I think you're right as well. I barely do. I do the group part of the events.
Right.
I do. We kill Xenoanalyst, and I have fun doing it every time it comes around. We kill Eyeless, and his spectacular intergluteal cleft is a great experience every time that comes around. Uh, but I don't. I very rarely do the non-group parts of the events. I don't. I haven't done the weekly or the whatever. I don't even remember what all the. There is like a weekly for Gree, right? Where you like do all of the quests
I don't think so.
or whatever. Isn't there? There's like 6 quests. I remember all the quests, but I haven't done them since I hit legendary on Gree. Because why am I gonna go do that? I'm not gonna. I Trace Comas. I don't need to do it for the credits. So somebody posted. Quick aside. So somebody posted on a YouTube comment last week. Um, who had minute 36 to 39 for Matt doing a shout out, or Max doing a shout out to him not getting a Rhodian. And
Bingo card.
I replied back, yeah, add it to the bingo card with me spouting off about Trace Comas or doing a Sean Connery voice. So yeah, there you go. I just did a Trace Comas drop. So drink. Here's the drinking game. Trace Comas. Everyone takes a drink. Anyway, I don't do the quests today. If there was a conquest reason to do it, and we were doing it as a group activity, and everybody was going off and doing it, that's great. That's nice. That's fun. So let's do that. Yes, thank you. All right. This one was even less interesting to me, but fine, I think, for anyone who's sort of coming in new right now. Introduction to Conquest. There's little doubt that over the years, Conquest has changed substantially. They're trying to make that introduction to Conquest updated to the way things sort of work today. If you have not completed that before, you can still go back and do it off the mission terminal. Fine. I think that's fine. I mean, gotta think of the new players as well as the and all of the level brackets and all of the experienced players who've been playing for and podcasting for 6-7 years or whatever.
I mean,
as
I
well.
don't like he says here they made some tweaks to it. I don't think I was aware there was an introduction to Conquest mission. I don't remember that. But yeah, I mean, lots of times we have new people come on and they hear us talking about Conquest, and sometimes they kind of sheepishly ask, like a half an hour later, so what is Conquest now? So I don't think it's that obvious what it is to a new player.
If you're a new player, there are introduction to X of all of the system quests available, and they tend to have very good rewards associated with them. Introduction to PvP, introduction to Starfighter, introduction to Conquest, introduction to
Group Finder.
Group Finder. Yeah. And you get substantial experience and other rewards for doing any of them. So I highly recommend tracking those down. They're all on the fleet typically. So you'll see the quest markers pop up on the fleet as soon as you sort of hit the level. Introduction to Strongholds. That was the other one I was trying to think of. Do those. You do the Introduction to Strongholds. If you haven't done that yet, you get a whole bunch of decorations, like a ton of decorations that are really useful. You get SWTOR, which is a vendor that you can place as a decoration that you can buy other decorations from. You want that stuff. You get a whole bunch of chairs. Chairs are very important here for new players. Chairs are very important. I can show you my strongholds that are filled with chairs. They're no longer as important as they used to be, but I still feel they're very important.
Also, they're spooky.
Where's my...
I have spoken.
I'm gonna have to change that. I have spoken because I'm spooky now. I'm a ghost. Anyway, the last one I was even the least interested in, but fine. Shorter UI pop-up notification.
I like this because this says to me that they are even looking at the end user experience of the stuff that they do.
Yeah, and probably they play the game and keep getting this popped up in their face while they're trying to do something and can't see what they're doing. You know, the one that you could really make a shorter pop-up notification is when Sanctuary has won this planet in Conquest.
It should be longer when AIE has, but shorter.
Really, it's really just
everyone else
Sanctuary. Yeah,
Oh,
on Jedi Covenant. Because like 2/3 of the planets is Sanctuary has won this planet in Conquest. You can make that one like just make it really small. It's just like if no pop-up shows up, we just assume that Sanctuary has won the planet.
That's right. Right. Just make it exception. If it only pops up if it's not Sanctuary.
Yeah. And if it's not Sanctuary, then there's a pop-up that says, surprise, Sanctuary hasn't won this planet. Instead, it's Funky Monkey Jedi Killers or whatever. Whatever the guild happens to be. I'm going to have to roll that guild now. Funky Monkey Jedi Killers. There you go.
Why not?
You whoever rolls that guild and shows me the screenshot wins nothing, but you get a thumbs up from me. All right, so that's the post. Thank you, David Stats, for putting that in there. I'm really excited to see where else this goes, and I'm also really excited to see that this is continuing to be evolved. This is something we really pay attention to. In fact, we pay attention to it so much, we've probably done, at this point, we've probably done a dozen podcast episodes on Conquest, for one.
Right.
And for two, we keep coming up with our own wishes and desires, and the chat room has done a couple here tonight on what we'd like to see our changes to podcasts. So I'm going to scroll back. There's one earlier in the podcast I wanted to get to from Forrester. But what is your anything you in particular want to bring up that we've talked about in the past, or something else you wanted to throw in here tonight, Seema, what you want to see?
Well, I mean, I'm actually already looking at Forrester's, and I really love his idea, which is to add new long-term guild conquest objectives like opening up all the rooms in the flagship, or something that guild members could work towards over time, which I think is a fantastic idea.
I think
of course
so
we would have to close all the
delete our guild ship and start
and start over. But it would have been a good idea for us like 3 years ago. But yeah.
But maybe just things in general that would carry over from week to week, like kill 100 world bosses. And if your guild does that, whenever you finish that, you make your guild target for the week. Just things that you could carry and roll over from week to week, things that the whole guild could work towards. I mean, that's the whole point, or that's one of the main points of Conquest, is guilds working together to do stuff.
Yeah. I really like that because that would take us a while to do because we do tend to kill a number of world bosses.
Like every
You
other
know,
week, we'll do an
yeah.
MFN that kills a couple world bosses, 2, 3, 4, 6 world bosses. Having, yeah, kill 100 or kill 50 or something, yeah. And then if you want to grind them out all in one week, your guild's gonna just like every night get in there and hunt down some more world bosses. Well, okay, well, cool. That's a thing. That
And I
that could be
like
interesting.
Zen's contribution of, everybody kills Zen and then they get conquest points for that.
I think that would be the good twist on that. Not kill your guild leader
Just
or a
kill
guild
Zen.
officer. Well, he said guild officer, and he is an officer. And he is in PvP and GSF. So really, he's one of our top GSF pilots. If
Yep,
you
he
go
is.
hunt down Zen in GSF and kill him, and
You
Thon
should
and
get a lot of
Zen
conquest points, yeah.
do this to each other all the time, yeah, you should go killing your friends, shooting your friends. We should definitely have. We
That
should
I mean, that
definitely have
just
conquest rewards for killing your friends and killing
thinking
guild
of
mates.
conquest targets that I don't know how easy this would be for them to do, but thinking in general about conquest targets that would take more than a week to accomplish would open up a lot. Like
I think
100
it
world
would.
bosses for a guild, but even, for a person, like 50 times through EV.
Right. Yeah, a lot of that stuff. Just, yeah, keep a counter, see how far you've gotten. Stuff that you see. I mean, they can do reporting and analytics. What are people doing over and over and over again? Have you done
Yeah.
have you done 500 PvP matches in the last month? If you've done that, that's pretty cool. And we're gonna give you a big conquest boost for that. Huh, all right. That's kind of interesting. I could see it. You see those tickers ticking up, and it's kind of like the achievement ticker that people are working on right now to get to renown rank 999. But this would
It's
be
kind of
also repeatable.
it's kind of a double-edged sword though, because when you set really big targets like that, people sometimes react with, they feel like they're being forced to do it because they need to get that achievement. If I had that achievement on my list of things to do, I'd be doing it sort of as a side. Like I wouldn't focus on it because that's too big of a chunk of work and I don't want the game to be work. I would just keep it on the side of my mind and think. Um, every time I did run EV, I'd go, cool, one more tick mark.
Right.
Um, and it would just kind of mount up naturally. But if I felt like, oh, I've got to run EV several times every week to make this achievement, then that
Yeah.
would not be.
I. Yeah.
And MMO players do tend to go down that path.
But because it would be infinitely repeatable, you're not gonna
Yeah.
feel like you need to do it every hour
Right. You're right. And
or
it's
every
not the same as an
day
achievement.
or
If it's a conquest target, it's not the same as an achievement.
yeah.
Yeah.
So
Good point.
a couple other twists on Conquest that we've talked about. One that we've talked about in particular before, which I would love to see, and we should just call up David, get him on the show, and browbeat him until he concedes that this will
Because
be
that would
added.
work so well.
Yeah, that's the best when you like yell at devs over and over. I think all caps in a Twitch stream, I think, is the number one way to get
Yep.
your point across. But our idea, and a couple of people even mentioned it elsewhere in guild chat recently. Total galactic war. Basically having total galactic war in all the planets available every week,
Yeah.
so that the point of Conquest on Jedi Covenant is for a couple guilds to scrape up the dregs of whatever sanctuary doesn't win. And sometimes sanctuary wins 2 of the 3 conquest rewards. Usually they're pretty nice about it and they'll only pick one, the large, to win that week. But they have multiple. They have sanctuary and they have dark sanctuary, and they have I think they even have like a leveling sanctuary conquest guild. They could win all 3 every single week because it's designed for conquest, and people put a character in there for conquest if they want to win a planet. Now they're cool and they're nice about it, and they serve a really cool function to provide this almost as sort of like as a service. But if you opened up Total Galactic War and all the planets were available every single week, all guilds now would have the opportunity to like think about going after, winning a planet. Do we want to try one this week? Who's in there? It would
And
be a
we'd be more
whole nother
willing to
dimension.
try. We'd
Right.
be more willing to try to, because it wouldn't be such a disaster if we failed.
Right.
Because like
You
now,
try more
Total
often.
Galactic War, yeah, we if we have to try, we have to wait and make sure it's something we can actually win, because if we fail, it's not coming around again for a long time.
Right. Right. Yeah. I mean, for us to put all of that effort in and then lose, and guilds do, and to be limited by the top couple conquest guilds who are going to be taking everything every other week, it takes
Yeah.
away a huge part of what conquest is supposed to be, which is supposed to be a little guild v guild. That's why there's the scoreboard, that's why there's the ranking, that's why there's the top 10. If you're not number 1, you're number 2 is the first loser, and it doesn't matter from there on down. So
I
the fact that they've got like a top 10 board and your guild made the top 10 that week, I have no idea if we've made the top 10 the last 3 months. We
'Cause
may
don't
have,
even
we
look
may have
anymore.
not. You don't even care.
Yeah, right.
It makes no difference. You're either number 1 or it doesn't matter.
Or you're the rest. Yeah. I like the idea of having the planets available all the time, because it just spreads it out. But I would rather go down that path than them trying to somehow rein in what Sanctuary does,
Mhm.
like put limitations on large guilds or something. I don't know what they would think of, but whatever they would think of, I'm pretty sure would not have the effect
Right.
that they want.
Right. And it would ruin the kind of the cool thing that Sanctuary has going, which is Sanctuary is sort of like designed the way they play the game in some really elaborate and cool ways around making sure they win and rotating through planets and getting anyone who comes in and joins the meta achievement of winning every planet over time. And it's, I mean, kudos to those guys organizing all of that and putting the events together and doing stuff every night and bringing people in. And I don't ruin their game. Instead, give more of the game to everybody else by doing it this way. I think that's a great
Yeah.
idea.
Yeah.
So that was one. And the other thing I sort of put out there as I had 2 other things. One was sort of an add-on to this, was potentially more guild versus guild kind of stuff in Conquest. And maybe this would be an opportunity to really expand the idea of guild v guild in Conquest. And maybe you could throw out a challenge to another guild. And, especially imagine your 2 PvP guilds, and imagine you throw out a challenge this week to another PvP guild. And so it's like AIE versus Sanctuary, and we challenge Sanctuary this week. And what happens then is every Sanctuary person you kill in PvP that week, you get points for. Now there's ways that could go wrong. You could have people farming each other for conquest points. So you have to figure out what the right challenges are. But the opportunity to have a little bit more guild v guild than just who's number 1 on the board, on the only 3 planets that are available. I think that could be interesting. Now, would we do it very much? We don't have very many guilds that we would go off and challenge, but I think some of these guilds I think would, and I think that'd be okay. What do you think of that, Seema? Good idea or best idea ever?
Yeah, that was a fine idea, Max. Whatever it was.
Are you typing? I heard you typing even. Seema's on Pinterest.
No, someone was asking for a guild invite.
There we go. Guild invites. AIE-guild.org. You could have a guild invite right now even. See, I logged out. I was paying attention to this post for so long. But the one other one that I had in here, which I thought was quite interesting, that Seema won't listen to, but all of you out there can listen to me talking about it, was the thing about the 100,000 points reminded me of this. The 100,000 points on one character. So team ranked total domination is now worth 100,000 points. So this goes back to another idea we've talked about and designed out, which was what if you got points, conquest rewards by legacy, and every 50,000 points across your legacy, you got the weekly conquest reward, instead of you had to get 50,000 points on a particular character and then you had to like switch to another character. Really, what that drives right now is kind of disruptive behavior. For one, we do this on MFNs when we're going after conquest, and people need to be like swapping characters in all night, and they're like, oh, okay, we only do it for 2 hours. And we've gotten to the point where we say you can swap a character out every time you want, anytime you want, but we're not going to stop because we've got 16 or 20 people, and we're not going to stop every time any random person hits their conquest target so they can get a new character, because we'd be stopping like every 3 minutes, and
Right.
it's just too hard. But we're still continuing to grind out conquest points all night in really fun ways. So anybody can change anytime they want. You got to bring another character, but people have to like change 2 or 3 or 4 times a night if they've done like part of their conquest objective on a character. What I would rather do, and maybe the way I would like to play the game, is I have a couple characters I really love to play. I like playing my mercenary. I like playing my Sork. I like playing my Vanguard. The other characters, they come and go, and I'll do them if I'm going after conquest. But what if it was every 50,000 points, I got my conquest rewards, and I could stay on my mercenary all night or all week, and I could just play my mercenary, and I could get 500,000 points and get 10 conquest rewards all on my mercenary.
Yeah. Yeah.
So this particular goal of total domination is now with 100,000 points on one character. Now that would actually matter. I mean, that would be two conquest bonus, 2 conquest rewards, and getting 100,000 points on a single character doesn't feel like a waste of 50,000 points.
Right. And that happens to me regularly
It
because
happens
on
all
my
the time.
yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
Or just when you happen to be running around with friends and that renowned
yeah,
whatever
the renowned one is the worst.
the renown I forget the word they use, but like the renowned symphony or whatever. That's 35,000 points, and you get it on your character that already has like 75,000 points.
Right, because you've been doing
You have
whatever. Yeah,
you have to watch that one very carefully in order for it to land on the right character, and I don't do that.
right. Any of these big target ones, then you're like, oh, I mean, here it's 15,000 points to go go kill this world boss. I'm on my mercenary. They need my help here. I mean, this kind of happens to me relatively often on MFNs. We need a tank. We need a tank to do this thing. Well, even here, like right now, I've got 70,000 points on my mercenary, and I've barely done much conquest this week. So that, I mean, technically that's 20,000 points that now I've kind of I could feel like I've wasted. But so if there was a way to continue and just let me play how I want to play and be able to still contribute to conquest and get those rewards as part of it, I think that'd be a great idea. There was a comment in guild chat that distracted me there. Is there a way to leave the general chat? There is not. I mean, what I prefer to do is to create another tab. So here's a side tip. This is a bonus segment for us here in the podcast. What I prefer to do for chat is to create another tab. So if you right click on the tabs, you can create a new chat tab, and you can have whatever you want in that chat tab. And so I have one for guild, say. I have a guild. I still include like /say and /ops and /group in case somebody's talking to me in group and I happen to be on that tab. But I leave out trade and general chat, so it isn't a mess. And if there's stuff going on in there, it's not distracting me, like chat is right now in game. But that's my pro tip for what to do about that.
And then if something interesting happens in general that other people are commenting on, then you can go and read it.
Right.
Like
Then you can scroll back and you can flip back to general chat and it's
I
still
do
there.
the other thing where I just leave the general channel and then I'm always having to like rejoin for certain things, and I like your way better.
Yeah. All right, so there's our breakdown of Conquest. We'd love to hear the other ideas that you all have out there, so throw them our way. To comment on YouTube, or mostly just jump in Discord. You can tell us or reply to us on Twitch, and let us know. And when we get David's stats cornered in a dark room with a bright light bulb shining in his face, we will
There are
tell
4
him
lights.
all the things he needs. There are 4 lights. There are 4 lights, Max. 4 lights is the Chicago way. It
And
always
there's
comes back to
Sean
Sean
Connery.
Connery.
Yeah.
Everybody drink. There's Sean. All right. So with that, I think we're ready to kick our EPC 353. Hey, do a podcast episode. That should be 100,000 Conquest points right there.
Yes. Right. It should be.
So we
I
just
like
made
that
our
thought.
Conquest for the week.
Yep.
EPC 353 is ready to broadcast this podcast to all of you. Please keep up with us on Twitter and give us your comments about what you want to see added to Conquest on Twitter at Max the Gray and at AIESEMA. Or come join our guild and tell us in guild chat or guild Discord what you think, what your ideas are, and we'll get those collected. You can find our guild at aie-guild.org. In the upper right, there's a link to our guild Discord. Jump in there. We're on Starforge. We're on Starforge, right? Keller's
Yes,
Void
we
just
are.
popped into my head. Isn't that weird?
Yeah,
We're on
that's weird.
Starforge. We're not on Jedi Covenant or Keller's Void. We're on Starforge. You can find us at aie-guild.org. We'll get you a guild invite on the Imperial or the Republic side. We really want those guild invites to be coming in, and we would really love to have you. And with that, we will talk to you soon.
Later, everyone.